Top of the middle of the day to you, boys and girls. Here we are in the shop yet again for another little talk. And today, for your viewing pleasure, we're going to be comparing and contrasting a Husqvarna 390 to a 395. Initially, in the start of this process, we're going to look at an 8 or 10 hour runtime 390 out of Bend, Oregon. And what's important to note on this particular saw is it's already gummed up. 8 or 10 hours of runtime, the owner said. I don't know if you can see back behind the ring or not, but it's already gummed up in the ringland and stuff. And so this particular saw was run on Husky mix oil, and this is kind of one of the characteristic traits a guy gets with it. A lot of carbon buildup. This thing was even hard to crank over initially because it becomes more like a goo, the oil, than actual oil. But anyway, immediately to the right we have a 390, and immediately to the right of that we have a 395. These belong to the same gentleman. Hope we don't butcher his name here, Mr. Mitskus. He had me do another saw for him a while ago, Insanoized. He likes that saw very well. Decided to send me a couple Husqvarnas, so we're going to try these saws out. Now, when you first have these on the bench before you take anything apart, they don't look that close necessarily. The 395 is long and lean pretty much. Allows you to get the weight a little closer to the center line of your torso, whereas the 390 is actually a little wider and a little more boxy in shape. We're not so worried about that so much as we are the inside. So let's get into that. If we start looking at the 390 piston, we see that it has more of a motorcycle design. Big skirt. Now, the parasitic drag is going to be greater. And so that's why you want to use a super high quality mix oil. I prefer Motul or Maximus Formula K2. Seem to get a lot of life out of those. This saw was only run a little tiny bit, factory kind of deal. You can tell that we're going to be cleaning that up as well. In comparison, if you look at the 395 piston, it's actually noticeably heavier for being only 1 millimeter bigger in diameter. Big windows, old style, allows the pressurized charge to get out from underneath the dome, and works well with the design of the transfer ports, which we'll get into that in just a second here. First, we're going to look at the cases though. If you look at the 390, we're looking at motorcycle style cases versus more like the old 2 series style in this particular saw. The 395 is a successor to the 2101, 2100 saw. Looks kind of similar actually. I wish they would have used the crank. However, this saw has a 38 millimeter stroke. That's why you only end up with 94.3 cc's versus the 99 in the 2100, 2101, 298, that series of saw. If we start looking at the transfer ports, or at least the start of them, you'll understand that they work well with the particular case design. This is the 390. You can see how they start out versus the 395. Now we're going to Insanoize both of these saws, so we're going to be changing everything in here. We haven't really done much except on this saw. He wanted a little bit more out of it, so we cut the combustion chamber, which changes the volume, reduces it by actually quite a little bit. If you want to take a look at a stock one. Now, I checked the CCs in these a while ago, years ago actually. I think it was like 11 or 12 or something, I don't remember, but quite a lot actually. I haven't done this particular saw and probably won't because it doesn't really matter at this point. You're looking at maybe around 8 or something in that one, but a substantial difference. The 395 is the successor to the 394. Pretty small because these saws have been around for a long time. They came out in like 92 or something like that. Transfer port works well with the design of the piston, which makes sense. The engineers know what they're doing there, but they're pretty small. If you look at the cylinders outwardly, 390, shorter surface area for cooling on the fins is Mondo. Never heard of these saws overheating whatsoever. They both run the boot style intake manifold, which is sweet. Your carburetor isn't taking all that vibration like in the early, like the 395. No, yeah, they changed it. 394 has the block style, that's right. And the 2 series always had the block style, so your carburetor was getting vibrated around a lot. Anyway, if you look at the mufflers, quite a bit different, similar to the 372, except this has a block in the back because the cases are longer. It's important to note that this 395 came out of Alaska. Somebody else had been inside of it monkeying around. You can see the pistons kind of thrashed. They didn't do a very good job taking care of what they did, so the guy sent it down to me to get it whipped into shape. So keep in mind that there are a lot of guys out there talking about how they can do stuff for you on your saws, but that doesn't necessarily mean you won't end up with this, because it's a lot easier to screw it up than to get it right. Take it from someone who's practiced on their own quite a little bit. Well, anyway, that's kind of a little bit of shop talk about some Husqvarna chainsaws. Hope you enjoyed this viewing session. Have a blessed day wherever you might be on God's green earth.